Your girlfriend's parents invite you over for dinner at their house. Do this to avoid looking ridiculous. Give them a gift, bow down to greet them, and don't criticize the house's decoration. If they ask you about politics, don't give your opinion. It's very likely they'll get very angry. But if the dad tells a bad joke, laugh anyway. On the other hand, when you go to dinner, don't start eating before everyone else. You'll seem rude and like you're starving. If the food is disgusting, eat it anyway and say that it's delicious. Finally, don't leave without washing the dishes, saying thank you for dinner, and subscribe to BigDanBaby.
Do this to spot a fake police officer. First, check if his clothes are stained or wrinkled, and whether he wears a police cap or has a portable radio. Real police officers always wear a cap, so civilians that are in danger can easily recognize them. Also, they're required to wear a clean uniform and carry a radio. But don't just look at their appearance, also check their car. Real police cars have reflective decals on the sides and front in perfect condition. However, fake police cars usually don't have stickers and are often dirty. Now, watch the behavior of the officer. Fake cops are always nervous in case they get found out. If you ask for his ID, he'll get upset and angry with you. A real cop will always show you his badge and will let you call 911 to verify their identity. If you're at your rich friend's house and break something, don't try to hide it. They have security cameras all over the house and they'll catch you. If you're at the beach and bury your whole body in the sand, do not do it near the water. If the tide rises, you'll slowly drown. If you're away from home and need to charge your phone, don't use public USB outlets. It's a trick hackers use to steal your information. If you're alone in a movie theater and a stranger sits next to you for no reason, pretend you're getting a phone call and change seat. It's very likely that he's a child kidnapper. If you empty a giant packet of Orbeez into the ocean, most people think it would turn into a giant sea of Orbeez. But a single packet of Orbeez can only absorb about 2 cups of water, and the ocean contains 1,300 quintillion liters. So your packet of Orbeez would need to be 1,000 kilometers tall to turn the ocean into a sea of Orbeez. And even if you managed to pour all the Orbeez into the ocean, you would need a spoon the same size as the moon. If an ant nest floods with water, the ants quickly rescue the queen and the larva, prioritizing their safety. Then they link their bodies together to form a raft of living ants that floats on the water. This raft protects the queen and the baby ants from the water, placing them in the center and ensuring their survival. The ants on the bottom row help each other, taking turns to avoid drowning, and they manage to float to higher ground, saving the lives of the queen and the larva. Inside the killer's teapot, there are 2 chambers. One is filled with tea and the other with poison. If you cover the hole from the poison chamber, you will block the airflow, causing the poison not to be released, and only the tea will pour into the cup. But if you cover the hole from the tea chamber, only the poison will be able to pour into your enemy's cup. By covering both holes, no liquid will come out of the teapot, and if you don't cover either, both liquids will mix as they pour.
If you hear very loud fireworks but don't see anything in the sky, don't even think about going outside. There's a shooting in front of your house and you'll die easily from a shot. If you've eaten too much spicy food, don't drink water as it will spread the spiciness. Instead, grab a glass of milk and drink it very carefully. If you're trapped in a fire, don't breathe through your nose. The smoke will enter your lungs and you'll die from the toxic gas. If you're talking to your grandfather but he falls asleep while talking, ask him to count from 1 to 5. If he can't do it, he may be having a stroke.
If you are an idiot and don't know how to swim, extend your arms and legs, making a star shape to float. If you choke while eating and you're alone, jump into a big chair with all your strength. You'll release the food that is choking you. If you're at the beach and you get stung by a jellyfish, don't pee on the wound. It is very likely that bacteria will infect the wound. If you find yourself trapped in a car with no brakes, don't jump out of the window. You'll fly out so fast that you will crack your head open. It is better to downshift and stop very slowly by scraping against a wall.
A man jumped into a fiery volcano in front of a large crowd. This man was convinced he was a god and wanted to give everyone proof. And he thought that jumping into an active volcano would demonstrate his immortality. But instead of proving that he was a god, the man just vanished into the fire and lava. Later, the volcano spit out one of his shoes, confirming that he had died and that he wasn't actually a god after all.
If you're very lost on the street and you see many kids asking for money, run far away as fast as possible. It is an old trick used by criminals to steal from you. If you're an idiot and sleep with your phone, be careful. If it gets too hot, it will explode like fire and burn your whole house. If you have leeches sucking on your body, don't take them off. They'll vomit on the wound and you'll die from diseases. If you're on a bike and you're going to fall, freeze and do absolutely nothing. The bike will keep going straight by itself due to the speed.
If you're at a party and you feel like something has stung or pricked you, get out of there as fast as you can. Someone might have injected you with a drug to make you lose consciousness. If you're in the bathroom and you drop your phone into the toilet, don't try to put it in rice to absorb the water. It's a myth that doesn't work, and the rice could get stuck inside the phone. If you're the mother of a newborn baby, never take him to a public hospital. Other poor and sick patients might try to attack you out of jealousy. If you need to get an MRI, do not enter the room with metal objects. The machine has a super magnet that will attract them with massive force.
You get to your first day at school and you have no friends. Do this so you can be the popular in your class. Try to make your classmates laugh loud, but be careful since you don't want to be the clown of the class. However, there is a problem. The classmates don't know your name. When the teacher asks a question, get up first and solve the exercise on the blackboard. If you say your name in front of the whole class, no one will forget. On the other hand, you also want to know some things about them so that no one sees you like some stranger. During the recess, go quickly and try to talk with everyone, with the cools, the geeks, the class clowns. Finally, after your classes, sign up for all the extracurricular activities. Real friends are made both in and out of school.
You fall asleep on an IKEA sofa and the store closes. Do this to survive. Avoid the cashier areas and employee offices. That's where most of the cameras are, and they'll think you broke in to steal. If you get hungry, go to the food area. There's a lot of food that's impossible to eat, but there are also hundreds of sandwiches that you don't have to cook. If you get cold, go to the blanket section and put them all on, even though you'll look like a Viking. If you get bored, you can go to the video game area and play until you get tired. But if you hear strange noises, don't make any sound. A little girl died in IKEA and her ghost still haunts the place. You're afraid to sleep alone and the beds are awful. Build a fort with the boxes between the aisles so the employees won't bother you the next morning.
If you see a woman with a very large belly, don't ask her if she's pregnant. She might just be overweight and she'll get mad at you. If you're at a restaurant and your food has a bug in it, take a quick photo of your plate before telling the staff. They might say that you're making it up, but that way you'll have proof of the insect. If you're at a casino and you get offered a free drink, don't drink it under any circumstances. It's a common trick to get you really drunk so you'll gamble all your money. If you're lost in the ocean, but you're so hungry that you want to eat your friend, ask him to tie you up with a rope. You're hallucinating from hunger and turning into a cannibal. A snake can start eating its own tail if it mistakes it for a prey. This happens when it's in situations of extreme stress, causing intense confusion. In this state, its natural instinct to hunt and eat is so strong that it doesn't even realize that it's eating its own tail. If it manages to swallow too much of it, it can get stuck in its intestines and cause a blockage. This blockage can lead to irreversible damage and even death. If you're on your phone and you see a thief approaching, throw it in the drain without him noticing. He'll think you have nothing to steal, and you'll get your phone later. If you're at the beach and see someone sleeping in the sun, wake them up immediately. The sun rays can cause second-degree burns on their skin. If you're in the middle of the desert, don't take off your clothes. That will only make you more hot. Instead, do the opposite and cover your whole body. If you're on a boat and it starts sinking, don't jump in the water. Boats take several hours to sink, and you'll waste a lot of energy swimming in the sea.
If you're lost and got nothing available to eat, do not try to hunt the wild animals. They move very fast and you'll use so much energy that you'll die of exhaustion. If you see footprints outside your house, grab a stone before going inside. An assassin is just waiting for you to kill. If you're walking during the night and someone calls you, do not turn. They are a group of gang members looking for a fight. If you're an idiot and never make your bed, throw your mattress in the trash. It's full of dirty bugs that will rot your skin.
In 2001, a thief got completely stuck in a chimney while he was trying to rob a house, and the homeowner, unaware there was someone inside, lit a big fire. The chimney quickly filled with black smoke and extreme heat, and the thief began to scream and call for help. But the fire and smoke had grown so intense that they drowned out his cries. When the firefighters arrived at the scene of the crime, they discovered the lifeless body of the thief inside the chimney.
If you're a player in the Squid Games, don't team up with really intelligent people. You will be betrayed during the trials and you will die. If aliens invade our planet, don't even try to become friends with them. To the Martian visitors, you're nothing more than a very dumb animal and they'll experiment on you. If you're in the desert and find water, grab your shirt and get it wet. When you are thirsty, squeeze it and water will drip out. If you're fighting in World War III, never take off your helmet. If you're shot, you'll die anyway. But if they throw a grenade, the helmet will protect you from rocks.
If you get kidnapped and the criminals want to use your credit card, tell them it doesn't have much money on it and you have another one at home. If they take you there, you might get a chance to escape. If you're at the beach and want to go in the water, put your things in a plastic bag and bury it in the sand. Thieves won't be able to find them and you won't get robbed. If you take a taxi or an Uber, open maps on your phone to compare the route. The driver might take you a longer way to make the ride more expensive. If you're stuck in an elevator, mark the wall each time you sleep. If the rescue takes a long time, this will help you keep track of time.
You arrive on your first day of class and your new teacher walks in. Do this to figure out if he's a bad teacher. He's always late to class but gets angry if you arrive 5 seconds late. While he's explaining, you realize he's blatantly reading off the slides. And since he doesn't know the names of the students, he makes up offensive nicknames for each one. On the other hand, when you ask the teacher a question, he says you should have been paying more attention. But most importantly, never correct him if he makes a mistake or you'll become his biggest enemy. Finally, if it takes him over a month to grade assignments and he gives pop-up quizzes without warning, stop going to school and subscribe to BigDanBaby. If you're home alone and you choke while eating, slam your body against a piece of furniture to generate force in your stomach and push the food out. If you need to put a message inside a bottle, don't write near the edges of the paper. The water could smudge the ink and erase the whole message. If you're arguing with your mum and you're really angry, stop yelling and write down everything you're thinking on paper. This will help you control your emotions so you can keep arguing more calmly. If you're on a plane and it starts shaking violently, do not panic. Just stare at the flight attendant. If they are calm, it means there's no real danger. They put a statue through a scanner and discovered there was a skeleton inside. You see, a monk had died of starvation while meditating, and his body became mummified. Later, his organs were removed and replaced with sacred scrolls. They wrapped his body in paper mache and painted it to look like Buddha. Over the next several thousand years, the statue changed owners many times, and no one remembered there was a corpse inside, until a new buyer wanted to restore it and realized there were human bones inside. If you're lost in the mountain, look for plants and hide in a cave. If you start a fire, you won't freeze to death during the night. If you're going to school but you live in a dangerous neighborhood, put your book bag inside your shirt. Thieves will think you're fat and they won't rob you. If you're stupid and you're vegan, don't go to a barbecue with your friend. You won't be able to eat and you'll look ridiculous. If you're dying of thirst and find dirty water, look for bamboo sticks. If you filter the water through the hole of the canes, you'll have clean water. If you woke up inside a coffin in the 1800s, you'd have a small chance of survival. Look, since there were too many cases of people being buried alive during that time, a tube was connected from the coffin to the surface to let air flow in. On the grave, a bell was connected to a rope that ran down into the coffin. If you woke up trapped, pulling the rope would ring the bell, giving the signal to the cemetery workers that you were still alive. If you're at an amusement park and a ride has a minimum height requirement, don't try to cheat by standing on your tiptoes. The safety harness won't fit you properly and you could have an accident. If you're really tired and your boss thinks you're sleeping at work, put on some sunglasses and say your eyes hurt. That way you can sleep and not get fired. If you're in the gym and the treadmill suddenly starts speeding up for no reason, don't try to turn it off while running. Instead, grab the handrails and jump to the side. If you're being chased by someone with a knife and you get cornered, take off your shirt and throw it over the blade. It'll dull the knife's edge and you'll be able to escape. If you think a passenger is going to hijack your plane, this is what you need to do. First, make sure you're not just being paranoid. Is the passenger sweating? Maybe he's just hot. Is he rude and using swear words? He might just be nervous flying for the first time on a plane. But if he's doing all of that while looking suspiciously at the flight attendant, you've probably discovered a terrorist. First, press the call button and alert the flight attendant about the hijacker's suspicious behavior. If the terrorist notices you, don't try to confront confront him verbally or physically. Instead, stay calm and listen to the flight attendant. They are trained to defuse situations on the plane and use tools to eliminate any threat. Also, the pilots are trained to lock the cockpit door and not open it for anyone under any circumstances.
If you see money falling from a building, don't try to pick it up and get out of there as soon as possible. It's a common trick used by terrorists to bring many people together in one place. If your drink smells like cinnamon, don't drink it. It's very possible that it's been poisoned. If you're in a forest and you don't have anything to eat, find yellow dandelions. They are 100% edible. If you're stuck inside a free-falling elevator, lie on your back and cover your face. If you see a bunch of white hairs on your banana, don't eat it. It's a spider's nest. If the air starts to smell like chlorine during a storm, it means lightning is going to strike very close at any moment. If you're eating fruit and it tastes like hair, there's a good chance you're allergic.
By accident, you put the milk in before the cereal because you're way too tired. Do this and you'll be able to sleep better. After you finish school and playing on your phone, it is time for dinner. Remember, you really need to stop eating a full 2 hours before going to bed. On the other hand, 30 minutes before going to sleep, stop using your phone and turn on airplane mode. However, how do I set my alarm if I don't have the phone? Go buy yourself a real clock with an alarm. Finally, put up dark curtains to block out the light. Don't drink water before sleeping, and subscribe to BigDanBaby. If you live in a dangerous neighborhood, wear poor-looking clothes that are as dirty as possible. You will make the thieves pity you, and they won't rob you. If someone is looking at your phone, open the front camera. The nosy guy will see himself on the screen and will look ridiculous. If a murderer enters your house, turn off the lights and put a couple of pillows under the blanket. The murderer will think that you're sleeping, and you will catch him. If you see that your car has a broken window, don't go in and call the police. There is a homeless person living inside your car.
If the world were divided by gender, men and women would be separated at birth, and the world would be split by a huge wall. The women's side would be very peaceful, though also a bit unstable. Everything would be neat and feel like living in the past, surrounded by nature, while the men's side would be the opposite. Chaos, violence, mess, fun, and big cities. Soon, curiosity would make men climb the wall. When they reached the women's side, they'd feel calm, but they'd be caught soon after. After being held for days, they would convince the women to climb the wall and show them where they came from. The women would be amazed, not understanding such an advanced world yet so chaotic. They'd destroy the wall and find balance, becoming the world we live in today.
A statue of Jesus began to cry holy water from its feet in 2012, but since no one knew where the water was coming from, everyone believed it was a miracle. People started collecting the water and touching the blessed statue, but one man discovered that a bathroom pipe had burst, and the moisture buildup caused the water to seep through the wall. Angry about his discovery, the religious people accused him of being a liar, forcing him to flee the country. Why does school feel like a prison? First, they take you on a very big bus packed with people, and they check you in with a uniform as soon as you arrive. Then you have to wait in a small room while they watch you constantly until you finish all your assigned tasks. The food at school is just as bad as prison food. They split you into groups and you have to ask to go to the bathroom, but if you talk back, you get punished. Then they detain you so you can speak with the highest authority. Plus, you only get 15 minutes of recess to play soccer. As if that weren't enough, most schools are built by the same companies that build prisons, so it's no surprise most schools feel like a prison. Do not eat bats if you're traveling through China, even if you're very hungry. They'll give you a highly contagious virus, and you'll create a second global pandemic. If you're at the zoo and you really like monkeys, don't get too close to the cage. If you put your hand inside, the monkey will think you want to play, and it will shake you aggressively around the cage. If there's a solar eclipse, don't look at it directly without glasses. The rays will burn the retinas in your eyes, and you'll go blind. If you see dead fish on the sand at the beach, don't go in the sea out of curiosity. The water might be contaminated by radiation and you'll die slowly. How to always win at Jenga. Never start from the bottom. It's very likely that your opponents will do the same, and you'll knock over the tower on your turn. Don't remove the center pieces at the beginning of the game either. You'll be left with no options in the final turn. If a player has a difficult piece, make them laugh so they move, or let out a loud scream. They'll jump in surprise. On the other hand, if the tower has a few pieces in the middle, look for a block just below the weak spot. It's the most stable point and will come out easily. Finally, if you have a tricky block, hold your breath and push instead of pulling. If you push steadily, all the pieces will come out.
These are two foods invented by accident. First, French fries. In 1853, a chef was fed up with customers complaining about how he cooked the potatoes, so as revenge, he decided to cook them much more than usual. But the plan backfired because when he did it, people love how they turned out. Second, cheese. More than 4,000 years ago, an Arab merchant was carrying milk during a very long journey and decided that the best thing was to store it inside a goat's stomach. But with the heat and the liquids that stomach contained, the milk turned into cheese, and it became famous all over the world.
This moving train is about to run over 5 people, but if you activate this lever, the train will switch to another track where only one person is tied up. Many people would choose to activate the lever, only taking the life of one to save 5 others. On the other hand, pretend you're a doctor with 5 critical patients about to die. Each one of them needs a different organ transplant to survive. If you remove organs from a regular person, you could keep all 5 patients alive, but one person would have to die. So does it actually make sense to sacrifice one person in order to save 5 other lives?
If your hand starts moving on its own and tries to choke you, it's very likely that you have a disease known as alien hand syndrome. This rare disorder happens when the part of your brain that connects both hemispheres is damaged. This causes the nerves in your hand to activate involuntarily, causing it to move on its own. And although choking yourself is very rare, your alien hand can perform random tasks without your permission. The smartest kid in class asks for your help because you beat him on the last exam. Here's what you did. During university, I decided to try a trick called section. Instead of writing the usual notes that are boring, I divided the page into 3 different sections. While the professor explained the discovery of America, I took notes on the right side. Later, when I got home, I identified the main ideas and wrote them on the left side. And underneath, I made a short summary of important information. If you jump from a 50-story building, most people think that if you wrap yourself in bubble wrap, you won't die, since bubble wrap is designed to absorb impacts. But you'd need a cushion that's 3 meters thick to slow your fall gradually and spread the force over a larger area. And if you tried to cover yourself with bubble wrap, you'd need over 15,000 layers of bubble. That would create an armor 200 meters thick to fully absorb the force of the impact.
You're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Do this to survive. First, go to the nearest museum. Look for the medieval artifacts room and grab a suit of armor. It's nearly impossible for a zombie to bite through and penetrate armor. On the other hand, you'll think that firearms like pistols or machine guns are the best option for defending yourself, but you'll run out of ammo really quickly, and also the noise will attract more zombies. The best weapon is actually a good pair of running shoes to outrun the zombies, or at least run faster than your companion. Finally, the 2 best zones for survival are a snowy mountain where the zombies freeze, or an island in the middle of the sea because zombies can't swim. Would you rather be afraid of the dark or your own reflection? I would rather be afraid of my own reflection because any light would create a shadow that would scare me. And besides, I would not rather see my ugly reflection. Would you rather have infinite wishes or a lot of good luck? I would rather have a lot of good luck, as I might accidentally destroy the world by making wishes. And if I have good luck, I'll always end up winning. Would you rather fight against the aliens or against the demons? I would rather fight the demons because the aliens will surely have weapons that would eliminate us in a few seconds. Would you rather be able to run super fast but only in circles, or be invisible but only when you close your eyes? To be honest, I'm not totally sure, but subscribe to BigDanBaby.
You go on your first trip alone without your parents. Do this so you do not look ridiculous. On your way to the airport, send your mom your flight number. Take good photos of your passport and ID just in case. And use Duolingo to learn phrases from the local language. How to say hello, ask for directions, and order some food. On the other hand, you'll also use Google Translate, so you are able to translate things offline. And also download movies and podcasts so you don't get bored during the flight. Finally, in your suitcase, do not forget to bring a neck pillow, portable battery, and subscribe to BigDanBaby.
This is Mike the chicken, and if you're wondering where his head is, let me explain. When Mike's owner was trying to kill this chicken, the axe he was using failed to fully cut off its head, and the chicken's brain remained perfectly intact. This allowed Mike the chicken to survive without a head for over 1.5 years. They took care of him and kept him alive, feeding him through a straw, while cleaning the mucus from his neck so he could breathe. This made Mike the chicken become very popular. He even went on a world tour with his owner. The only reason he died 1 year later was because they forgot to clean his neck, causing him to tragically choke. 3 crazy ways in which countries arrest their criminals. In Japan, some criminals are forced to reenact their crime in the place of the event, while the Japanese police film the reenactment of the crime live to see how the criminal acts, almost like a reality show. But in Mexico, criminals suspected of trafficking drugs are forced to do the presentation, which is when a drug lord is made to take photos of himself with money and drugs before being forced to confess to the alleged crime. This process is meant to show the public that the police are succeeding in catching the criminals of the Mexican cartel, but that is nothing compared to the last country. In China, they used shame parades to humiliate and make fun of criminals, where they were forced to walk with chains all over their body while they were insulted and humiliated by the police and the public.
Even if you're extremely thirsty, don't think of drinking your own pee. If bacteria make their way into your stomach, you could easily die from poisoning. Instead, find a cactus and drink with caution. If you see men with long beards and black backpacks, run away as fast as you can. They are terrorists with bombs hidden in their clothes. If you're lost on Mount Everest and you're short on food, empty the whole bag. Cold preserves food much better and it will last longer. If you're dumb and get lost in a risky neighborhood, don't turn around and walk in a straight line. If you turn around, criminals will know you're not from around there and will finish you off. You're going to school, but then a thief tries to rob you. Do this quickly so you can fool him. When you come across the thief, secretly observe and analyze his pockets. It is very likely there's a weapon hidden in there. On the other hand, if he takes out a knife, do not resist. Your life is more important than a stupid old phone. But what happens if you are carrying very expensive things? Take your phone and smash it on the floor. If you're able to confuse the thief, you'll gain some time to escape. Run fast without looking back. Go into the store closest to you and call the police. Carefully review all security cameras. Report the theft to the police and subscribe to BigDanBaby.
The rarest allergies in the world. This boy is allergic to the cold. That makes it so that when he feels a cold breeze, he suddenly faints. He can't play in the snow. And the worst part is that he lives in Canada. Something even worse happens to this other girl. She's allergic to perfume. Every time she smells it, she gets dizzy, gets a headache, and it burns her lungs when she breathes. Tessa Hansen is allergic to the sea. One day she went on vacation to the beach. She came home with her body covered in itching and discovered she was allergic only to salt water. And finally, this cat hated its owner's boyfriends and would bite them if they touched her. One day, the cat became sick. After taking her to the vet, they realized the cat was allergic to human men.
If a friend is lying to you, ask him a lot of questions about what he is explaining. If he starts to scratch his head, he is lying. If you're lost in the woods, quickly look for a river to bathe in. Bad smells attract bears and they'll eat you. If you get kidnapped, pee on yourself constantly. The kidnappers will get tired of the bad smell and they will free you. If you're stuck on a broken down train, break the windows using the emergency hammer. On the train, there are a lot of sick people breathing and they will contaminate you. If you live in a rough area, wear poor-looking clothes that are very dirty. The thieves will pity you and they won't rob you. If someone is looking at your phone, open the front camera. The snoop will see themselves on the phone and look ridiculous. If a killer enters your house, turn off the lights and put pillows inside the bed. The killer will think you're sleeping and you'll catch him. If you see that your car has a broken window, don't go in and call the police. There's a homeless person living inside your car. If you get bullied at school, don't cry while they're hitting you. If you pretend to enjoy their punches, they'll think you're crazy and leave you alone. Don't even think about eating street food if you're traveling in India. It could be very dirty, full of bacteria, and your stomach will get infected. Besides, the doctors don't really know medicine. Never leave your belongings near the shore if you're lost on a deserted island. The tide and waves will take everything and you'll be left with nothing. If you're walking and see an armed robber mugging a child, don't be a hero. The robber won't hesitate to stab you and rob you too. If you're at the mall and a stranger drops some money in front of you, don't pick it up. You're in a hidden camera honesty test and you'll look ridiculous. If you're walking and you see a grenade on the ground, don't try to throw it away. It could explode in your hand the moment you touch it. Instead, run as fast as you can and hide while covering your ears. If you're lost in the jungle and a monkey steals your stuff, don't try to fight it. Monkeys are really strong and you'll get beaten up. Instead, grab a banana and trade it for your thing. If a gas station is selling their gas at a really low price, don't even think about filling up. They've probably mixed it with oil to make it cheaper.
World War III has begun, and you are drafted into the army. Do this to survive. Get up early, make your bed, and learn to say yes sir loud and clear, so the sergeant won't hate you on the first day. Befriend the strongest person and share part of your ration. If you get hurt, he will be the first to help you mindlessly. Never miss one training. Being physically fit will save your life. Running will always be better than fighting. Now, learn to use your knife. Use it to cut ropes, open cans, and if necessary, cut off your own arm. Never listen to someone of your same prank. They will probably play a prank on you and everyone will bully you. If you have to go to war but are afraid, step on a rusty nail, your foot will get infected and they will cut it off. But at least you won't have to go to war.
Do not shout on a mountain with a lot of snow. The vibration of your voice will bounce off the snow, causing an avalanche, and you'll die crushed. If you're dumb and are smoking in the jungle, do not throw the cigarette butts on the ground. The monkeys will learn to smoke and end up dying of cancer. Do not swim if you see white rocks in the sand at the beach. The water is so salty that the salt has separated into rocks, which will dehydrate your body. If you travel to the United States, never take a taxi at the airport. They're scammers who take advantage of innocent tourists to charge a lot of money.
If you get stabbed with a really big knife, do not remove it unless it is really blocking an airway inside. The knife will help you not to lose your blood while sealing the wound. If you're chased by a poisonous snake, hit the ground hard with your feet. The vibrations of the floor will seem like the footsteps of a bear, and it'll get scared. If you're attacked by a shark, kick really hard its eyes and nose with your leg. That's their weakest spot, and you will buy time to escape. If you're completely trapped inside a mall with no electricity, look for colored crayons. They will burn easily and work as candles.
A boulder that was 400 kilos fell, crushing a man's forearm while he was exploring the Grand Canyon. He was pinned against the wall, unable to move his body. For 5 long days, he tried everything to free himself, but nothing worked and his arm began to rot. So he made the terrible decision to cut off his own arm, using an old, dull pocket knife. The painful task took him an hour, but at least he was free, and he walked 10 kilometers until he found help. His lost arm was recovered and cremated, and months later, he scattered the ashes over the rock that nearly took his life. Your whole class has to give a presentation. Is it better to go first or last? Your friend Big decides to go first. Luckily, the teacher gives him a good grade, because there's no one to compare him to. On the other hand, Dan chooses to go last, and he's been nervous the entire class. Plus, he realized that in every presentation, they've already said several points he was going to mention. I recommend going second or third. That way, you can watch the first presenter and avoid the most common mistakes.
If you use ChatGPT, always say please and thank you. If artificial intelligence takes over the world, the AI will remember you and won't kill you. If you take a photo and your eyes look red, go to the doctor as fast as possible. A blood vessel in your eye might have exploded. If your nose starts bleeding, never tilt your head backwards. The blood will flow into your throat and you'll get a stomach infection. If it starts raining and you don't want to get wet, don't even think about running since you'll get twice as wet. Instead, walk calmly.
You get to your first day at school and you have no friends. Do this so you can be the popular kid in class. Try to make your classmates laugh out loud, but be careful since you don't want to be the annoying class clown. However, there is a problem. Your classmates don't know your name. When the teacher asks a question, get up first and solve the problem on the blackboard. If you say your name in front of the whole class, no one will forget. On the other hand, you also want to know some things about them so that no one sees you like a weird stranger. During recess, try to talk to everyone. The cool kids, the geeks, the class clowns. Finally, after school, sign up for all the extracurricular activities. Real friends are made both in and out of school.
Why do bathrooms have a gap under the door? Going into the bathroom at school or at a restaurant can be uncomfortable due to the lack of privacy. But these gaps exist for your own safety. If you faint while inside, the gap allows others to get in and help you without issue. It also helps monitor that no one is doing anything illegal inside the bathroom. And finally, if you get locked in because the door is stuck, you can easily crawl out underneath.
The parasite enters through the gills and clamps onto the fish's tongue with its sharp claws. After that, it cuts the blood vessels in the tongue, stopping blood flow, which causes it to die and eventually fall off. With the tongue gone, the parasite attaches its body onto the remaining stuff and becomes the fish's new tongue. While the fish is eating, the parasite steals some of its food. This creepy thing stays there, living in the fish's mouth and acting as its tongue until it dies.
If the seatbelt is across your pregnant belly and you get into a car accident, the force of the impact can transfer directly to your stomach. This can cause the placenta to rupture completely, preventing your baby from getting oxygen. You might think that not wearing a seatbelt is safer, but even a simple brake could throw you forward, crushing your belly against the steering wheel. Instead, place it under your belly and over your hip. This will distribute the impact force across your body, saving your life and your baby's.
If you are at a party and your drink is a little salty, do not drink it. It's very likely that someone put drugs in. If someone is attacking you from behind, try to scratch him. You'll sure get a sample of his DNA in your nail. If you're kidnapped in a car and they force you to drive, crash your car accidentally, it is very likely they're not wearing a safety seatbelt. If you come face to face with a big lion, maintain your eye contact and walk backwards very slowly.
A woman stepped into the street and began to dance like crazy. She danced for days without stopping, and other people started to join her. Over 50 people were possessed with the dancing fever. The dancers moved with such intensity that some actually collapsed from exhaustion. A few people even died from sudden heart attacks and severe strokes. The police were baffled, believing it was a curse or divine punishment. Now, they tried to cure the dancers by encouraging them to dance more, as they thought that it would expel the madness. But it only made the situation worse, and the dancers continued for a month before mysteriously they stopped dancing.
If you find oil in your backyard, can you keep it? Even though the oil is on your land, it doesn't mean you're automatically rich, because depending on where you live, you might only own the surface of the land and not what's beneath it. But then, who does the oil belong to? It might belong to a company, although normally it tends to be government property. But even if the oil does belong to you, there are laws about how and when you can extract it depending on the country. In Dubai, you can take the oil without any problem, but in the United States, there are stricter environmental laws. If your country lets you dig, you have 3 options. Lease it to a company that will keep a share of the oil, sell the land and earn millions of dollars, or take a risk and extract the oil yourself.
When a human dies, their body begins to decompose, releasing a strong odor that can attract their pet, who, driven by hunger and their instinct, will begin to bite your body. Cats usually start with the softer areas like your nose and lips, while dogs, on the other hand, wait until your body starts to smell of death before trying to eat you. This behavior is not out of cruelty, but purely from survival instinct. If you run away from a bear, it will easily catch you. It's better to stay calm and avoid eye contact while backing away little by little. If the bear charges at you, do not move. Most of its attacks are just a bluff. If it really attacks, lie face down and protect your neck with your hand. Don't move and try to play dead, since bears often lose interest if they don't see you as a threat. Why do bus seats have such strange designs? Sitting on public transport seats might seem harmless, but these colorful patterns are actually meant to hide built-up dirt. That way, the seats look cleaner and they can spend less money on cleaning them. How to be the cool kid in class. First, never do your homework. Ask a classmate for their math homework in exchange for history homework, and do the opposite with a different classmate. That way, you'll always have your homework done. Wear designer clothes even if they're fake, put on trendy ripped jeans, and learn unusual skills to impress the girls, like a fire trick or a backflip. When the teacher explains something nobody understands, raise your hand and ask. That way, you'll help your shy classmates who are scared to ask. Lastly, in group projects, ask the dumbest classmates for favors in exchange for tricks to get girls. Everyone will think you're cool and you'll have slaves doing all the work for you.
In 2014, a baby stuck a pencil up his nose and somehow pushed it through the nasal passage until he inserted it 7 centimeters into his brain. They took him immediately to the hospital, and the doctors had to extract it very carefully while trying not to cause more damage. But the pencil had magically managed to miss all the important nerves and blood vessels, and they were able to remove it without making any long-term damage.
If you are poor and need money, get a box with the Mr. Beast logo and put a rock inside. Now, go to a shopping mall while a friend starts filming you with a phone and ask if anyone wants the mystery box in exchange for $5. Everyone will think it's a Mr. Beast video and that the box has $1 million, but they'll only get a rock and you'll get $5. If you repeat this 20 times a day, you'll earn more than $5,000 a month.
If you start working in a zone with high violent crime, buy a baby doll and pretend it's your newborn child. The thieves will feel sorry for you and won't try to rob you. If you cut your finger in an accident, wrap it in a cloth and cover it with lots of ice. That will help preserve the nerves and they will reconstruct it at the hospital. If you're an idiot and get a piercing on your tongue, never date someone with braces in their mouth. If you try to kiss, you might accidentally get stuck together. If you go to prison for the first time, don't talk to anyone and just punch the wall day and night. The inmates will think you're crazy and you'll be respected.
By accident, you put the milk before the cereals because you're way too tired. Do this and you'll be able to sleep better. After your classes and playing on your mobile phone, it is the time for dinner. Remember, you really need to stop eating 2 hours before going to your bed. On the other hand, 30 minutes before going to sleep, stop using your mobile and turn on the airplane mode. However, how do I set my alarm if now I don't have the phone? Go and buy yourself a real clock with alarm. Finally, put up dark curtains to block out the light from outside. Don't drink water before sleeping and subscribe to BigDanBaby.
A man was quickly sucked up by a giant dryer and he became stuck. He was working for an industrial laundry, and the man, while trying to unclog the path that transports clothes to the machine, climbed up to press the stuck clothes and push them through. But he got tangled with a sleeve of a t-shirt, and no one could hear his terrifying screams for help. The temperature rose to over 300 degrees Celsius, and 20 minutes later, his co-workers found his body on the floor. Some dogs started jumping off a tall bridge, and if they survived, they would climb back up to the bridge to jump again. Some say the ghost of a woman who died on the bridge is responsible for this strange curse, guiding the dogs to their deaths. Others say there's a sound only dogs can hear that drives them mad and forces them to jump. The bridge, over 15 meters high, has caused 600 dogs to leap into the void without explanation. Even a man, influenced by the bridge's curse, looked at his own son and claimed he was a murderous demon. A bullet flew in his right eye and got lodged deep inside his skull, and a second bullet hit him directly in the chest. This should have been a fatal wound, but somehow he survived. That's because he carried a small Bible in the pocket of his coat, which stopped the bullet from reaching his heart. Surgeons removed the bullet from his skull and he lost his right eye, but the little Bible ended up saving his life. If you're at a supermarket and someone accidentally spills something on you, be careful and check all of your pockets. It's a trick that criminals use to distract the victim. If a stranger hands you a briefcase full of money, don't touch it and take a photo of the stranger. It's a scam that criminals often use to get rid of stolen money. If you're walking but you start flying, don't go to the bathroom to pee. You're dreaming and you'll end up wetting the bed. If you're stuck on a desert island for a very long time, draw a smiley face on a coconut and talk to it about life. That way you won't go completely crazy. If you watch the sunset from the ground of the tallest building in the world and take a very fast elevator to the top floor, you could watch the sunset a second time. This happens because the earth is round, and the higher you go, the farther you can see the horizon. It also works if you're lying down watching the sunset. Stand up quickly and you'll be able to see it again. If you fall from the top of a building, there are 3 things you can do to increase your chances of survival. First, relax your body by moving your arms and legs to release tension. Now, aim to land on something that might slow your fall, like a tree instead of concrete. Try to position yourself upright to land on your feet so the impact spreads through your legs. Lastly, try to roll as you hit the ground to reduce injuries. If you're at home at night and a thief breaks in, turn off the light. You know your house much better than the thief. If you're lost in the desert, don't drink your own urine. You'll only end up even more dehydrated. If you've been kidnapped, you can call 911 and pretend you're ordering a pizza. The police will catch on and come to rescue you. If you're at the beach and the water starts to recede, get out of there as soon as possible. A massive tsunami is coming. If your ear gets cut off, you can extract a bit of cartilage from your rib cage. Then, a doctor will shape it into the form of an ear and place it under the skin of your forearm. Inside your arm, new blood vessels and skin will grow around it. Once the new ear has fully developed, it is removed from your arm and the new blood vessels are connected to the hole in your skull. Finally, the skin is carefully stitched to your head, creating a brand new ear. How to spot a friend with depression. Ask your friends how they're doing. Someone with depression will often say I'm fine even when they're not. If you suspect a friend, create a music playlist with them. It's very likely they'll only add sad songs to cry to. On the other hand, if you have a ghost friend who doesn't reply to messages or show up when you meet, go to their house because they might be in trouble. Lastly, even the clown of the group who always seems happy might be hiding depression. Remember, not everything is what it seems. If you want to know if your girlfriend will still be pretty when she gets older, look closely at how attractive her mum is. If she's ugly, break up with her. If you want to escape from prison, do it during the night of Halloween. The guards will think you're dressed up as a prisoner and won't notice anything strange. If you want to get the attention of the girl you like, steal her pet and return it a few days later pretending you found it. She'll be so grateful that she'll want to go out with you. If you want to get skins in video games without spending money, create a female avatar and use a girl's name. Weirdos will give you stuff to get your attention.
If you are in a zombie apocalypse and a zombie bites your friend, lock him up for 2 days. Viruses take 48 hours to show symptoms, and you will see if he turns into a zombie. If you are going to school, but a superhero is fighting a villain, don't get into your car. The superhero will use your car as a weapon, and you will die crushed. If you are always sleepy in class, stop using your phone before sleeping. The light from the screen makes your brain think it is daytime and doesn't let you sleep. If you are fat and can't lose weight, eat lots of fruit. You will fill your stomach very quickly and won't be hungry.
If you're an idiot and you like fireworks, don't try to light them while holding them in your hand. If you mess up, you could burn or blow up your hand. If you're at the gym and someone offers you powders that will make you stronger and more muscular, do not take them. It's most likely a highly illegal drug. If you find hot springs and want to swim in them, check the temperature with a stick before getting in. The water may be hotter than you think. If you're on a deserted island and need a signal to a ship that's far away, build a fire with green branches instead of dry one. The smoke will be darker and can be seen from very far away. If you're at a party and your drink tastes a bit salty, don't drink it. It's very likely it's been laced with drugs. If someone's attacking you from behind, scratch them. You'll get a sample of their DNA under your nail. If you get kidnapped in a car and forced to drive, crash the car accidentally. It's very likely they're not wearing their seatbelt. If you come face to face with a lion, maintain eye contact and slowly walk backward. How to always win at Guess Who? Simple questions like does your character wear glasses, have a mustache or is bald are useless, because each attribute always appears on 5 different characters. With a bit of luck, you'll figure out your character in 8 turns. But if you ask about 2 attributes at once, you'll guess it in just 5 turns. For example, does your character have glasses or a mustache? Does your character have blue eyes or a hat? Finally, don't confuse or with and, because you will lose the game. If you're working and find out that you've won a prize from the lottery, don't start breaking things or insulting your boss. The prize might be a small amount of money and you'll need the job. If you're stuck in a nightmare and can't wake up, look for a way to die inside the dream. Your brain will wake you up since it doesn't know what comes after death. If you're in a zombie apocalypse and your fat friend is eating all the food, push the fatty toward the zombie so they eat him. You'll lose a friend, but you won't starve to death. If you're washing the dishes and the sink fills up with soap, do not stick your hand in. There might be a sharp knife hidden inside that you can't see.
If you are lost in the middle of the forest, do this to survive. Climb up to a tree branch and check if there is a signal. If that doesn't work, try to locate the nearest road and walk toward it. If you are dying of thirst, don't drink directly from the river. You could ingest a deadly parasite. Instead, stretch out your t-shirt and use it as a filter. If you get lost and don't have a compass, look at the sun. It always sets in the west, which would be to your left, so you will have north in front of you. If you get hungry and can't hunt, only pick the purple or blue berries. It is very likely that the red and yellow ones are toxic. If night falls, build a bonfire. You will scare away animals, keep warm, and you can also cook. You will think that making a bed out of leaves is the smartest thing, but it actually attracts venomous spiders. When you get to a road, don't stand in the middle. You could run into an idiotic driver who tries to run you over.
If someone bigger than you wants to fight you, shout, "He has a hidden bomb." If there are police nearby, they'll tackle him and you'll be able to escape. If you want to buy something expensive in a store, take off its price tag and replace it with one from a cheaper item. Cashiers never check the items when scanning them. You can walk up to a kid with candy and take it right from his hand. He literally can't do anything. He's a kid. If you're babysitting your little brother but you're tired of him, tell him to play hide and seek and just don't look for him once he hides. If you're on a date but you have a pimple, don't pop it. It'll infect your entire face, turn red, and you'll look ridiculous. If you're lost in the desert during a heavy sandstorm, cover your head with your shirt. The sand could get into your eyes and lungs and you'll die instantly. If you're inside a plane, don't turn on your phone's Wi-Fi. The signal will interfere with the plane and cause it to get lost. If you see some construction workers working, don't stare at them. The sparks emit such a strong light that you'll go blind.
If you've been kidnapped by a group of terrorists, try to make friends with your kidnapper. If you get him to trust you, he will let you go out for air, and you can escape. If a few gang members are messing with you, get down and ask for forgiveness. It's better that they laugh at you than them cutting off your head. If you're about to put on dirty clothes, but they don't smell bad, don't do it. Your nose has gotten used to the bad smell and can no longer detect the stench, but you really are a pig. If you notice that a thief wants to rob you, go and talk to a random person as if he were your friend. Criminals will only attack you if you are alone.
If a blue whale swallowed you, you would be violently pushed down through its massive throat. You would continue sliding down its esophagus until you reached the stomach chamber full of digestive acid, and those acids would quickly begin to break down your entire body. But even if you somehow managed to avoid the acid, the lack of oxygen inside the whale would quickly cause you to suffocate. If you win the lottery, don't buy luxury clothes or cars. Everyone will suspect you have a lot of money and thieves will steal from you. If a construction building mysteriously appears in your neighborhood out of nowhere, check if the workers are wearing construction clothes and carrying tools. They are probably building a giant bomb to blow up your neighborhood. If you're driving and fall into a lake, don't waste time trying to open the door. It's impossible due to the water pressure. Instead, lower the window and swim out. If you're lost in the middle of the ocean and catch a sunfish, do not eat it. It has such a strong venom that it'll kill you instantly.
If you're going to eat exotic food in another country, don't do it the day before your flight. You'll start vomiting on the plane and make a fool of yourself. If you have an online class, never join the video call without pants. You might forget you're only wearing underwear, and if you stand up, you'll look ridiculous. If your tongue gets stuck to a frozen surface, don't try to pull it off with force. Instead, just pour a little water over your tongue. If a poisonous snake bites you, ignore the pain and take several pictures of the snake. That way, the doctors will be able to identify the species and know which medicine to use.
If you're going down a water slide and you get stuck, don't try to climb back up. Instead, use your back to block the water and build pressure behind you, and slide down to gain speed. If you're in a war, don't try to play dead. If the enemies decide to check the bodies, you'll look ridiculous and they'll shoot you. If you're eating at a pizza buffet, don't try to start a competition to see who eats the most pizzas. You could choke while eating and end up having a heart attack. If you have pain in your teeth and a few days later it goes away for no reason, go to the dentist as soon as possible. The root of the tooth has died and you can't feel any pain. If you're stupid and you're smoking in the jungle, do not throw your cigarette butts on the ground. The monkeys will learn to smoke and they'll end up dying from cancer. Don't even think about swimming if you see white rocks on the sand at the beach. The water is so salty that it's crystallized the salt into rocks, which will dehydrate your body. If you're traveling to the United States, never take a taxi from the airport. They're scammers who take advantage of innocent tourists by charging them a lot of money. Do not yell on a mountain with a lot of snow. The vibration of your voice will bounce off the snow, causing a snow avalanche to start, and you'll be crushed to death.
If your house starts smelling fishy for no apparent reason, 9 times out of 10, it's because of an electrical fire. If you're in another country and need assistance, but you don't know the emergency number, remember, call 112 and they will automatically connect you to the nearest emergency line. If a tornado looks like it's not moving, in reality, it's actually moving toward you. If you wake up to a very strong smell of gas, don't turn on the light. A single spark from the switch could blow up your entire house. If you suddenly feel your hair stand on end, bend down and cover your head, because a lightning strike is coming your way. If you fall on train tracks, don't try to climb back up. There's actually a small gap designed for you to avoid the train.
3 scams you need to avoid if you travel to another country. In Paris, France, never accept a free bracelet. Once you have it on your wrist, the scammer will tighten the bracelet very tightly and demand a lot of money for it. But if you're in Thailand, never accept to play a game of Connect 4. An innocent looking child will ask you to play Connect 4 for money. Even if it seems easy, these kids are professional Connect 4 masters and will beat you badly. But the taxi scam exists all over the world. A taxi meter usually measures the distance traveled and the time spent to calculate a price. But there's a button to charge more money during nights or on weekends. And many drivers take advantage of this button to scam unsuspecting tourists during the day.
In 2010, a teenager was dared to eat a living slug by his friends. The next day, he started to get dizzy, vomit, and felt a very strange pain in his leg. Doctors discovered that the kid had been infected with a very rare parasite, but they didn't perform any treatment, as they said that the body would get rid of it on his own. However, the parasite's larvae got deep inside the child's brain through the bloodstream, causing him to fall into a coma for more than 100 days. When he finally woke up, he suffered quite serious brain damage. much and could only control his eyelids and breathing. For the next 8 years, he spent his days completely paralyzed until the day the boy died of respiratory failure in 2018.
If all the people on Earth clipped their toenails and threw them into the ocean, you might think they'd float and cover a huge area, but toenails don't actually float, so they would pile up at the bottom of the ocean as over 82 billion clippings rained down. It would choke fish and cover the seafloor until a massive pile broke through the surface. And after this global clipping, you would have an island of toenails that you could walk on 10 times bigger than Central Park.
Guess which of your classmates gets the best grades. This is Big. When he comes to class, he grabs his notebook and starts taking notes. While the teacher explains the subject, Big copies every word the teacher says. In the meantime, Dan doesn't take notes when the class starts, since he waits for the teacher to finish explaining each topic so he can write the notes using his own words. Several studies claim that students like Dan get better grades. He understood the topics better and is subscribed to BigDanBaby.
You get to your first date with the one girl you like. Do this so you do not look ridiculous. Turn off your mobile. Don't put your elbows on top of the table and say a nice compliment looking into her eyes to break the ice. But you're very confused because you don't know what to talk about. Remember, the important one is her, not you. Ask her about all her hobbies. Try hard to make her laugh. But above all, never talk about your ex-girlfriends because then she will beat you up very badly. On the other hand, avoid eating difficult dishes that can stain your clothes and chew with your mouth closed without making sound. If you drink soup, remember that the spoon goes to your mouth and not the mouth to the spoon. Finally, when the waiter comes and brings the bill, take out your wallet, pay for her meal, and subscribe to BigDanBaby.
In 1820, a ship was suddenly attacked by a giant sperm whale. The whale struck multiple times, causing severe damage to the ship's structure. 2 hours later, the ship began to sink, and the entire crew abandoned the vessel by using small boats to escape. For months, they drifted across the ocean, slowly dying from hunger, thirst, and heat stroke, until one day they began eating each other like cannibals to survive. 90 days later, only 8 of the 20 crew members were eventually rescued. A bear started chasing a woman in her backyard, trying to attack her. But just before it could kill her, her sausage dog barked and bit the bear, forcing it to stop the attack. The bear slashed him, cutting through his skin, but the dog didn't give up, and the distraction gave the woman just enough time to defend herself. The dog chased the bear, barking non-stop until it disappeared into the forest.
A plane with 45 passengers crashed in the Andes Mountains back in 1972. Trapped in the freezing snow, the survivors tried to signal for help but were unsuccessful. They had very little food, and as the days passed, they were left with no choice but to make a terrible decision. They had to consume the bodies of the passengers who had died in the collision. After enduring 2 months, 2 survivors walked through frigid conditions for 10 days to cross the mountains and find assistance, and guided the rescue team back to the site of the accident. In the end, only 16 of the 45 passengers managed to survive.
You can't sleep and you stay awake all night. What will happen to your body if you don't sleep? After 24 hours, your memory starts to fail. You get moody and you lose your coordination and reflexes. After 36 hours, you suffer from high blood pressure and your heart starts pumping faster. After 48 hours, things get very ugly. You start having micro sleeps, episodes of 3 to 15 seconds of sleep you can't control, and your immune system stops working by 80%. After 72 hours, you're screwed. Thinking becomes so hard that you suffer from hallucinations and memory loss so severe you might forget your own name. If you win the lottery, don't buy designer clothes or sports cars. Everyone will think you have a lot of money and thieves will rob you. If a construction site suddenly appears in your neighborhood out of nowhere, check if the workers are wearing construction gear and using tools. They are probably building a giant bomb to blow up your neighborhood. If you're driving and your car falls into a lake, don't waste your time trying to open the door. It's impossible due to the water pressure. Instead, roll down your window and swim out. If you're lost in the middle of the ocean and you manage to catch a sunfish, don't even think about eating it. It has such a strong venom that it will kill you instantly.
If you see money falling from a building, don't try to pick it up and get out of there fast. It's a common trick used by terrorists to gather a lot of people in one place. If your drink smells like cinnamon, don't drink it. It's a clear sign that it's been poisoned. If you're in a forest and you don't have anything to eat, find yellow dandelions. They are 100% edible. If you're stuck inside a free-falling elevator, lie on your back and cover your face. If you see a bunch of white hairs on a banana, don't eat it. It's a spider's nest. If the air starts to smell like chlorine during a storm, it means lightning is going to strike very close and at any moment. moment. If you're eating fruit and it tastes like hair, there's a good chance you're allergic to it.
If you cut off a dead person's finger, most people think you could use it to unlock their phone. But the sensor actually tries to detect the body's electrical signal, and a dead person has no electricity, making the finger completely useless. Now, if you tried to use the dead person's face to unlock Face ID, the system would try to detect small movements to make sure that it's a living person, but it would immediately realize that they're dead, and you wouldn't be able to unlock their phone. This donut has 15 grams of sugar, but this apple has 30. So why is the apple healthier than the donut? When you eat a donut, the refined sugars go into your bloodstream, causing a spike in your blood sugar levels. Your body responds by producing a lot of insulin to lower the glucose, but this leads to a sugar crash and you'll end up craving even more sugar. Consequences? Acne, weight gain, and heart problems. On the other hand, when eating an apple, you're consuming sugar but with natural fibers, which slow down how much sugar reaches your bloodstream, keeping your blood sugar levels stable.
If you are walking down the street and a thief tries to rob you, start acting crazy and shout words in Chinese very loudly. If the thief thinks that you are out of your mind, he will be scared to death. If you are in a casino and win a lot of money, get out of there as soon as possible. It is an old trick that all casinos use to get you to keep playing and lose all your money. If you are rich, never take your designer clothes to a laundromat. There's a good chance there are criminals hiding in there to rob you. If you are eating something sweet but notice a sour taste, run to the doctor as soon as possible. You may have eaten poisoned bacteria and you will die.
With this trick, I'll make sure no one ever bullies my son. When my son turns 5, I'll enroll him in a public school. He'll make some friends and live a normal, ordinary childhood until he turns 11. At that point, on just another regular day, he'll go down to the garage and see a very strange machine that won't stop making noises. He'll get closer and start touching it, and right then, boom, I'll rush into the garage and say, "Son, please tell me you didn't touch my time machine." He won't know what to say and will start crying. But just then, we'll hear someone knocking at the door, and we'll find 3 homeless men I will have hired. Now, they'll say to him, "We're your best friends 30 years from now. If you want to live, stay away from us." This way, my son will become a lone wolf with a lot of aura.